Yes, I am very aware that I am wearing a coat indoors, and that's because it's really, really cold today, and I don't want to switch the heating on just for the sake of recording a video because, well, have you seen the price of electricity recently? It's a little bit bonkers. It isn't quite as expensive as gambling, however, so what I want to do today is talk about something I just was randomly thinking about the other day, and that was a weird trait that I remember having consistently whilst gambling. And the reason I want to talk about this really is because some of the most productive comments I have, some of the nicest comments I have, and the ones that make this kind of worthwhile, are the ones that say, thanks for sharing this, Phil. I don't feel like I'm sort of so alone. Because quite often, obviously, gambling in itself is a very solitary activity. But also, it can lead us to think, well, I must be the only one who's doing this. I must be the only one that's feeling like this. I must be the only one that is going through these motions time after time after time. So I wanted to, record this video to say, if you do this thing, right, then don't worry. You're not alone. It's something that I did. And what I want to do also is talk a bit about the psychology of it, blah, blah, blah. Now, I'm hoping to make this a little bit of a series, weird shit that gamblers do or something like that. But in true only Phil form, what will probably happen, I will intend to make it a series, and this will be the one and only episode because, yes, I am that consistent, but you'll have to forgive me. I'm very, very busy at the moment. So, before I go into the subject of today's video, which is the first weird thing that I found myself doing when I was gambling, just want to say hi. Hope you're keeping safe. Hope you're keeping sane. Hope you're looking after yourselves and you're getting through Blue Monday. I think it was on Monday, wasn't it? Supposed to be the most depressing day of the year. I hope you're surviving these cold winter months. If you do want to support the channel, there will be a link to my Patreon in the description below. But if you think these videos are useful, you think they're interesting, and they do indeed make you feel like you're not alone, then just hit like, subscribe, do all that great YouTube stuff. That really helps me reach more people and hopefully help a few more people as well. So, there's tons of things that us as gamblers do. Quite often when we're gambling or before or after a session, beat ourselves up over a big loss or have that weird thing where you run the last few yards to the bookies because the adrenaline is going, the dopamine is there, and you just can't wait to get stuck in and scratch that itch to placate that gambling urge. Now, the one thing I want to talk about today is bartering. Trying to do a deal with either an inanimate object or an event or circumstances that are completely outside of your control. I have spoken many times that my gambling poison of choice was typically sort of automated non-human forms. So, fruit machines, fob teas in bookies, and online slots, online casinos, things of that nature, basically where it's man versus machine. Now, that could be a random machine, it could be something that's predetermined, it could be compensated, whatever. All right, but my gambling method, poison, whatever you want to call it, of choice was almost exclusively something that was digital and not, doesn't factor in human or indeed animal elements in the case of horse racing. But I'm sure you can very much apply this to those situations too. So the typical theory would go like this, or the typical scenario would go like this. I would say go a couple of £100 into a fob tea machine, for example, right? And I'm playing some slot on £2 spins or 20 quid mega spins or whatever, doesn't matter. That's all academic, all right? But then there would be a point, a little moment of clarity, and I think this is generally what it is. And that would be the point at which I start trying to strike a deal with the machine, trying to strike a deal with this inanimate object. And you start finding yourself saying things like, I'll just give me half of my money back and I'll leave. Or, you get maybe a feature or a bonus or something on a slot game and it pays okay. And you think, you know what? I'm just going to play for one more tease. If you tell you what, give me one more tease nice and quickly and I'm just going to leave. Or give me another quick bonus. I don't care what it gives. You can give it whatever you like. Give me the pots. Just give me the pots. I don't care if it gives me bronze. That will give me a point at which to leave. And you start trying to actually sometimes verbalise. And I would be ashamed to admit that I would sit there and I would mutter under my breath. I would talk to the machine. I would be pleading with it, trying to make a deal that if it just gave me X, it just gave me Y, it just gave me Z percentage of the money that I'd invested back, then that would be the point at which I'd walk. Now, I truly believe that this is a rational part of my brain. This was the rational part of your brain, the bit that kicks in before and, dare I say, afterwards of a gambling session. All right, the bit that tells you that you're only going to spend X, and the bit that inevitably tells you afterwards why you shouldn't have spent Y, why you should have done that, the clarity afterwards that makes the clarity before seem so rational, but the bit in the middle has those few glimpses of common sense, of rationality. You make that deal with the machine, or you mutter that deal at the machine saying, please just give me half my money back and I'll leave, because just for a fleeting moment you see yourself outside of yourself. You see yourself looking in, and you feel that desperation inside you build, but there's that bit of you that kind of goes, if I did this, then the damage that I'm doing to myself in the midst of this horrible gambling frenzy will be minimised. If I get half of my money back, then I can still pay my bills. All right, the money that I've invested thus far, I can afford to lose. If I can just get a bit back, then I've got enough to take the missus out for dinner, X, Y, Z. There is that moment of common sense, of clarity, the non-gambling mind that kicks in and just wants to rationalise the behaviour. So it says, yeah, just give me those pots. I don't care if you give me bronze and it's £62 or whatever. I'll take that and I will run away. But we know how weak the common sense, the rational, the logical, the non-gambling mind can be in the face of dopamine, in the face of an addiction, and in the face of gambling urges and a gambling frenzy. When you are in that position, if you are in that zone, if you are detached from the outside world and it's just you and the machine, or it could just be you and the horses, or you and the football, just get another goal, just get the draw's fine, that will carry through on my acca to blah, blah. It doesn't matter, all right? But we know how weak that mind is. And why do we know how weak that mind is? Well, 9 times out of 10, the thing that you're asking for, the thing you're pleading for, the thing you're trying to do a deal with the machine for doesn't occur. You don't get those pots. You don't get another quick bonus. A tease takes far too long, so you stick with it and continue playing. But what happens if that does happen and it lands bronze? You're pissed off. And you think, okay, I said I'd have that, but what I'm going to do, I'm just going to stick with it a bit longer. I'm just trying and get that bit more back. All right, so it's the rational part of our brain, the same rational part of our brain that berates us after gambling and sets us proverbial hypothetical limits which we're never going to stick to before gambling. It's that bit of the brain that's trying to do this pointless deal with this inanimate object, or with this football team that are playing 200 miles away from you and have no idea you even exist, or a horse that wouldn't even understand you if you were there on the sideline shouting at it. All right, it's that rational part of your brain that is so easily overcome by the gambling demons. It's the same reason that if we do, by some miracle, dig ourselves into a hole and then dig ourselves 97% of the way out of it, we're £300 into a machine and we get up to a balance of £290 through a succession of absolute miracle wins. What do? Do we go, well, that was a tenner well spent, thank God for that, run away? No, we don't. We persevere because we want that last tenner, because the gambling brain says we cannot lose, we do not want to lose. But we always lose. And why can we not win? We can't win because we can't stop. So that was just one thing that came to mind. I'm sure there's plenty of other things that you do when you're gambling, or before or after you're gambling, things that you do that either you believe are superstitions or just merely glimpses of the common sense, rational version of your brain that is battling so hard to limit the damage caused by the gambling part of your brain, which, let's face it, wins 99% of the time. Stay safe, stay sane. If you want to support the channel, there'll be a Patreon link in the description below. Hopefully, this won't be the first and last in this series, because I think actually they're quite interesting things to talk about, but also, like I say, some of the most motivational comments for me when it comes to making more videos is when people tell me that by watching my videos they don't feel so alone, they don't feel so stupid, and they don't feel like their behaviours are exclusive to them and that they are the odd one out. If you have this curse, this disease that we call gambling addiction, all right, the chances are we have far, far more in common than we would like to believe. It's a well-trodden path. There are thousands, dare I say millions of people who suffer from it, who go through the same processes, the same behaviours, the same cycles that are caused by the addiction. So if that is you, if you do that stupid thing I just talked about, pleading with machines and talking to horses that are running 300 miles away from your house or the other side of the world, then just know you're not alone. I did that too. But for now, stay safe, stay sane. Thank you for watching, and like I say, Patreon link in the description below if you choose to support me that way. And if you want to share actually any of the strange things you do, then maybe they'll ring true and there'll be something I'll talk about in a future video. Take care, everyone.